Yes, sir.
All right, we are back. I got the returning guest here, Peter Granage, with me today. I'm so glad that he decided to take a little bit of time of his busy day to talk a little bit of what's been going on, starting with BRICS. What do you think happened at the BRICS, and what do you think didn't happen? Can you give us your overlook
Well,
of that?
so the good news for me is what I expected for once actually transpired. I was not expecting an earth-shattering new gold currency, all the stuff that some people were speculating on. What was important to me and what I think the most out of it was that Saudi Arabia is joining the BRIC nation. And I have to tell you something. 98% of financial advisors who people are depending on for their financial well-being don't understand a thing about, if you ask them, can you explain the petrodollar to me and what it means? They would go, is that the money you pay when you go to pay for gas? I mean, it goes back to the 1970s and how everything was set up with the U.S. to defend Saudi Arabia in exchange for always using dollars. And by using those dollars, it helped us create deficits beyond capacity. And now Saudi Arabia has basically said, and anybody tells you different, don't listen to them. Here you go, United States. We're no longer counting on you, or you're the sole buddy of ours. We decided to expand our horizon, which just happens to be with the country that's looking to replace you as number one. And we're also, thanks to them, making peace with our mortal enemies. And we're also going to get involved in things which you're not going to be involved in, which is called BRICS. And I just think that if you're investing for the past, not the next few weeks or few months, but you're looking out for years from now, we're going to look back and see this as a dramatic change in the world economy, in geopolitics, in energy, and all the other things. And it's not surprising me, by the way, that one of the side notes to that news is the dramatic pickup again in oil prices, because smart people realize what is happening. And of course, our fearless leader ran down our reserves, strategic reserves, to almost all-time lows. So long answer, but for me, what I hoped would be achieved there has happened. And I'll say it again, what I said before the meeting. I believe in the next 1 to 3 years, what will happen with the BRIC nations will impact world trade similar to how the Industrial Revolution did.
I'm so glad you mentioned petrodollar, because you answered the second question. I was going to lead up into that, because you are correct. When you mentioned the word petro, a lot of people, rightfully so in so many ways, if they're only listening to the mainstream news, if they're not looking for alternative media, doing their own research, they would just not know what it is. So you're basically saying that United States was a big muscle provided for the Saudi Arabia to protect them, and then the transactions were done in the US dollars, and they were the ones protecting them. And now it's Russia that's protecting Saudi Arabia, and United States is the one that's sanctioning Russia for the last, how long now? About over a year, a little bit over a year. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so what people need to understand is we not only made them do that, but we then caused everybody else, because Saudi Arabia and surrounding countries who followed their lead in the OPEC, they too made it just the dollar. So all these other countries had to change their currencies into dollars in order to get their energy. And that benefited us, running up these insane debts and deficits. And now, at a time when we could least afford it, both from a strategic standpoint, because we ran down our reserves, and at a time where America continues to lose its way of the world as a leader and has its own horrific internal problems, the BRIC situation is only going to play more of a role and be a net negative to the United States. We're going to be outside looking in.
Understood. And when you put all this together right now from a macro perspective and everything else, of course, I have to talk to you about when it comes to, again, precious metal sector, what is gold's play with what happened with oil right now, with the Saudi Arabia basically siding with Russia, not the United States, as a protection, and the petrodollar being not just on pressure, basically almost gone as the intermediator.
So to understand today for September 1st, ironically, before we spoke, I've come out and said that between now and the end of the year, for metals and mining shares, it'll mark a new mega bull market that we haven't seen in over 10 years. The changes that are happening, all this and other stuff has negative ramifications for the US dollar. Today, we had, and I think you and I even had this discussion in past ones, that I have been stating since this past January that the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, who should just take the L out and just be called BS, because that's what they us with numbers that just made no sense. And I kept saying that they're going to be changed and revised dramatically downward, that employment is nowhere near the strength, and that they were fudging it. Well, today they let loose. They revised every single month lower. And just last month, from what they said till now, is 110,000 less jobs. Now, remember, when these numbers came out, Biden and his group, oh, the economy's going great, Bidenomics, all this, look at the numbers, unemployment's dropping, and it was a farce. And we also learned this past week that also happened with the industrial production numbers and the housing numbers. And then I had an economist online, this is the best part, write this dissertation about don't listen to Peter Grams, because anybody that can claim governments would purposely manipulate numbers, especially the BLS, shouldn't be listened to. And I'm going, oh my God. Can I get this guy to buy the Brooklyn Bridge? I think he'd buy it if I get a chance to talk to him. It is just unraveling to the poor overall performance, let alone all the issues of theft and other things that this administration has caused. And as people awake to this, and eventually it becomes so bad that even the so-called mainstream media, who really been like this when it comes to Biden, you know, they have not commented on the things that they should be commenting. Even they are starting to come around and realize, hey, this is so bad, we can't get away with this anymore. So I think all of it, to answer your original question, is a net positive for gold. I think the metals have seen the lows. I think we've had so much bearish, I call them weak-kneed bulls, people that when it's going up, they show you the charts that they said that they were bullish on gold. When it goes down, they show you the charts they said it was going down. And of course, the financial media that's attached to their hips, who hate gold. Remember this, Wall Street and the mainstream financial media treats gold like kryptonite, and that's never going to change. So you can't expect them, that the only time they'll come is probably towards the end of whatever this move is, when everybody's again talking about it, just as they did the stock market a couple of years ago. But until then, you need to find alternative sources other than mainstream media if you're going to be a believer in the metals.
Yeah, I've had several friends and people that know that I'm into precious metals, commodities overall, and they were asking me more about, the bricks and all that. I said, just wait, I'm going to have Mr. Granage on the show on Friday, and I'm going to have him break it down. And I tell all my friends, and when I do quick videos on my channel, I just say, put yourself on gold standard and don't worry about what they say, because really what they talked about behind closed doors, what Xi talked about to president of or prince of Saudi Arabia or whoever, we have no idea. They just presented these breaking news about Saudis are going to join the BRICS. They're going to, basically, they're trying to bypass officially now the dollar, the petrodollar would be dead. But we have no idea what more they actually talked about. We're about to find out. So my simple answer, I don't know if you agree with this, is always been to everybody that listens to me, even though this is not investing, trading, or life advice, I say be on your own physical gold standard. because that's all you can control when it comes to timing these markets, when to get in and when to buy. We all know it's very hard. And I've been a bag holder for some miners now for over 2.5 years. And it doesn't bother me too much because I can sleep good at night knowing that the physical position was set in place first. This is a speculation. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, it is what it is. I'm going to take that hit. Do you agree on that strategy, or?
So what I would say to your viewers is that don't do what they say, do what they do. And central banks have just continuously been aggressive accumulators of gold. And they don't buy for trades or speculation. They recognize that there's going to become a great awakening in the world monetary systems, trade systems, and they recognize that one of the last things they want to have. That's why the Chinese and the Saudis have been liquidating aggressively our treasury bonds, our notes, because it's a double whammy if you stay in that, the loss on the dollar and all. So can we still see a rally in the dollar? Can we still see a swoon in the gold price temporarily? Yeah, but if you're investing for more than just a few weeks and a few months, I can't imagine not having a portfolio that has significant exposure to physical metals, both gold and silver. And then that's somebody that knows Peter Grandich would have said up until a year or two ago, did Grandich just put silver on the same level as gold? Because I always had it second class. But the industrial changes and demand for silver and a potential shortage of it is making it equal weight in my book now. And I can't recall it ever being equal weight in all the years that I've been around it.
Got it. Yeah, when I say gold, I usually say silver weight. I know they are completely different metals, even though they're monetary metals, and silver was actually money first before gold, if you go back in the day. But yeah, they're different metals. But I usually, when I say gold, I say silver too. Like you said, silver follows percentage-wise. If you look into history, really does well. It beats gold percentage-wise way more. So yeah, silver for sure. And I was going to go back to your BS statistics, like the Bureau of BS, basically statistics. We've had, during the so-called pandemic, 22 consecutive weeks in 2020 of over 1 million unemployment claims. So I'm going to repeat that again. 22 consecutive weeks of unemployment claims, over 1 million, or roughly 1 million people would say basically, hey, I need some help, I got no job. 22 consecutive weeks. We got to the point now that we are celebrating weekly unemployment claims to be under 250,000, 250,000 weekly. And we are coming up with these bullshit statistics, like you mentioned, that this is good news, right? Because it's not 1 million anymore. We cut down big time. We went from 950,000 to 250,000. And then we are celebrating when people have to get a third job to make ends meet, second job, or getting the jobs back that they were shut down during the so-called health event that you know what I'm talking about. What are your thoughts on that to finish off this video?
So part of the argument that I had was that one of the other ploys that were being used and people weren't recognizing is the payroll number versus the household number, which is two different numbers. The household number was much more closer to what was happening. So if a person used to have a great job, but then it was lost and they had to get 3 part-time jobs to bring in the same type of money in order to support their family, the way the payroll number is set up is they count that as 3 people employed, but it's really 1 person employed doing 3 part-time jobs.
Yes.
And you'll see in the numbers that came out today, again, part-timers have played a big role. And somebody says, well, you know, as long as they're making what they need, I say, hold on. One of the things that happens in part-time work versus full-time is you don't get the benefit packages that you would get when full-time. So now people have to pay for more things that they used to have their employer cover when they were truly working full-time in a full-time job. And that's been employed by companies to cut costs by employing them part-time and therefore not having to offer out the benefits. And again, 2/3 of Americans are working paycheck to paycheck, and their income is falling lower than the inflation rate. So all that means is it's costing most people, the majority of people, more to buy the things that they used to have and have less of them. And this government comes out and tries to tell me Bionomics or whatever he wants to call it is a savior. It's really sad. And let me just end with this one, because this is important, because I know you happen to care about that and you help as well. Food banks all around the country will tell you that not have they ever seen the number of people that are showing up and the levels of income higher now of people that are coming that need aid just to put food on the table. And that doesn't take into the whole homeless problem, the invasion of immigrants now. New York City is up in arms, 100,000, and what's going to happen with them? Where do they go? Do they find jobs? Are they allowed to have jobs? Will they take jobs? There's so many things happening economically, and I just watched what I coined the "Don't Worry, Be Happy" crowd that make up most of the financial world and the people you'll see on the talking heads. Even if they take it into account, which I don't know if they actually do, they don't even share about that, of the potential of that impact. They live in a fantasy world that 5 or 10% of the population can live in full time, but the vast majority of people can't. And that's where I think the big troubles are for us ahead. And these numbers and BRICS and all these things that are happening geopolitically and politically here are going to take a toll on markets, and we're not going to see the returns that the equity markets used to give, and people's lifestyle is still living as if that's going to continue, and that's where the big hits are going to come. But it won't happen tomorrow, but over the next many months, you'll see that occur, in my opinion.
And all that ties out to what we talked about with the BRICS and gold and oil, and how gold plays importance when you look at all these job statistics and everything, basically economic issues, whether it's high inflation, we can call it mass inflation, hyperinflation, whether it's depression. Gold has always done well, and I always try to keep it. I think it was Robert Kiyosaki that said, keep it super simple. I'm just looking at history repeating itself. If it doesn't, it rhymes. I'm just looking at gold as a security blanket here. And I'm not trying to invent certain things right now that this time will be different. Because when we look at all these numbers and everything what's going on, and now with the petrodollar slowly but surely going away, meaning more loss of purchasing power for the regular people, for the main street, it just feeds into that. And people may say, well, here's Marco and Peter talk about gold again and how you need to buy gold. No, we're just, and I'm speaking based on what you just said, just putting all the pieces together. You're not saying tomorrow this is what we're going to see. You are looking at it as a macro look, as an investment, meaning 5 to 10 years versus a speculation overnight. And that's just what I would end the video with from my perspective based on listening to your videos. By the way, I don't want to forget this part. Your channel now has so many great guests. You are very busy. It used to be like, I've noticed maybe like a week, you would put like a video or two, and you would have a few minutes with Peter when you kind of break down what's going on, which I listen daily now or weekly when I have time. And you have Tavi Costa recently. You had so many guests that are coming on your show. I would suggest all of the viewers here to turn into Peter Granage. Can you tell us where people can find you and what you do on your channel?
Sure. So just put in YouTube Peter Granage. I forget the symbol, what it would be, and a page would come up and it will show. I put up my recent interviews, like with you, will be up there. I put up when I do what's called Pete Speaks, which is this kind of review of the markets.
Speaks, yes. Mm-hmm.
And then I have a few minutes with Peter Granage where I talk things economic, but I also talk, because I worked 20 years in the sports world, I still bring on occasionally some sports celebrities to talk about that and all. So can I make a plug now that you kind of plugged me? Can I make a
Okay,
plug?
well, I want to add this too before you say anything else. For those that didn't listen to some of our videos, that interviews that I've done on my channel, I did say one thing the first time we spoke. You used to work with professional athletes, football for the most part, NFL, correct? And you
And that in
decided,
hockey, yes.
and hockey, okay, hockey and NFL, it's a big deal. And you were basically managing money for people that have a lot of money. As we know, sports figures, for the most part, which is sad, but they go broke pretty quickly because they don't last forever in that arena, and they don't invest money wisely. So you were in that arena for a long time, and you decided not to go because. Can you tell us about that? This is why I really started to follow you even more, and I wanted so badly to have you on channel because you're one of those men that just have a backbone, and you can't find it nowadays that easily.
Yeah, so back in 2000, I started a company called Trinity Financial Sports and Entertainment Management. It was a Christian-based financial advisory service company for professional athletes. We said entertainers, but most entertainers don't have a desire to have a Christian life as athletes do. Anyway, long story short, over the years, I spent 13 years working with the New York Giants, doing Bible study and chapel and fellowshipping with athletes and coaches. So a lot of guys clients to my financial service planning business, which has been going on for 25 years. And so the first thing that started to lose interest when they first started kneeling with the national anthem, I still was speaking publicly, and I wrote some articles and did some interviews where I said that should not be occurring, and I expressed my opinion. Well, I lost a few clients, athlete clients, because of that. But when the social stuff started with, putting things on helmets and wearing things and having things sung before and during and after that I felt should be left outside the arena, that should occur before or after the game, and I've given them all the power to do that. But during the game, most people come to those games to get away from all of that on both sides of the coin. They just want to go and see a game. They don't want to get involved in politics at all. So I spoke out about that, and a good majority of what was left of my clientele either became very angry or exited. And then the combination of that and COVID, it was in the midst of COVID. So at the end of 2020, I decided that I'm just not going to partake in this anymore. And it was a financial hit because obviously not dealing with those people, was less income. But I have to tell you, and you brought it up, I had no idea you'd bring it up at all. What's really left is what you see behind me. That's what's left of it. But I did get to meet good people in that. And thankfully, I've tied now about certain teams and things of that nature. But I don't look at sports in the way that I used to. And I have to put an asterisk. I still watch hockey pretty much like I used to. And of the four major sports, it's the least went left. It didn't go as far left as others. The NFL and the NBA is just, one big woke. It's one big woke university. And if you try to be any, I have still a couple young guys who are still came up, and because they knew of guys, they were referred to me, and they've told me stories that if they dare mention what you and I may discuss freely here, if they talked about that in the locker room, they'd be ostracized and maybe even put their career in danger. And that's how woke the sports world has come. And I would be hypocritical that I would have this outspokenness about my faith and where social things should be and all, and at the same time be deeply involved with these folks and making money off of them. And so I made that decision to exit from that. And also,
I'm a big, not many people like myself that, Europeans, we don't have, NFL or any of that. It's soccer, as you know, it's different type of football. But I really fell in love in NFL. I went to Bears games. I lived in Chicago for a while. My good friend, best friend, actually got Kansas City Chiefs season tickets for a long time. That's a long story. but he invited me. Like I go sometimes, like I'll go on the opener on Thursday night. I'll be in Kansas City because he invited me, but I don't follow. I don't watch it on TV. I occasionally look what the Bears are doing. I still love them, but I don't. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I'm a little bit more now, a lot more into college football because they're more careful what they're saying because they're looking at contracts. They want to be more on the sidelines and just kind of like play it safe in a way. And I prefer college football now instead of NFL.
The one thing that sports fans have difficulty with is, and it's important to know because I had at least an insight. I mean, I was literally around the Giants from the day of training camp right through the end of the season, and they were a good organization compared to some others, but it's all business. You have to, even if you want to push aside the social stuff and the political, sports fans get upset and they say, why did they do that? Well, they did it because of the money. That's what you have to understand. It's all about making money. Sports is just the second tier of it.
Yep.
And I always say that, although hockey, again, falling back to hockey, still is not as severe in that stage as it is in the other sports and all. You know, players now, I hadn't seen one in a while, and they're more focused on what they're going to do in the social media world than they may even be about game day. And that's sad, because if you're a real sports fan, you think everything should be focused on that. But that's where the world is now. So let me say what I wanted to say, because it's in the background. You have no idea. And I have to say it. I ordered my second set of meats from you. And so I want to tell my listeners, please go to that website that's up there, look at it, and order the meats, because I got to tell you something. For a guy that didn't set out to be a farmer and all, it's not like your third generation. You're producing one heck of a meat.
I think I just got lucky with the grass I got, and I got a really good processor. That's basically what it is. But I did develop passion for it, just like it is when it did with tennis and investing. And when I look into something, when I find it interesting, I go all in, or I'm not interested at all. Like, you can be telling me now, Peter, to help you with that cabinet back there because something broke, and I'll just be staring at you just blindly in a way, like I'm not interested. I really don't know. I can help you pick it up, but I don't know how to fix it. But I have very big interest in farming, business, industry, cattle.
So let me ask you this. The family's very involved in it. We don't get to hear about the wife, but I'm sure she's very involved in it too.
Yeah, she's running two businesses now. She's working from home. She works for us, for me. I work for her, and yeah, that is where we're at. So it's a lot to maneuver around between the kids and everything, but we love it. We feel like we have freedom here in the great state of Arkansas. It's a hidden gem. I really believe it's a diamond state for a reason. A lot of people don't know about it, but I do travel a lot, so I'm not, on the ranch all the time and all that. So yeah, but again, thank you for that. And this was one of my favorite interviews because we touched up on sports, which is, I love sports, by the way, and gold. So I'm going to try to find a very creative title for this one. And thank you again, Peter, for your time.
Well, thank you for caring. It's in a world where a lot of people are not caring about others and their families and all. And I know your story. You got to share with me how you ended up, because I interviewed you. So people who like to see that, if they go and they'll see it on a few minutes. And thank you for the work you're doing. And don't be surprised in a few days, you're going to see another order, because it was really, really good.
All right. Thank you, Peter. And I'm sure we will talk soon. God bless, and see you around.
God bless you.
Take care.
God bless. Take care.